Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, it's Leslie and Cassie here with Power Women of the Trades podcast, and we are so excited to have Angie Snow with us. Hey Angie.
Hi ladies, how are you guys today?
Well, this is actually our second interview with you. The first one was at AHR a couple weeks ago, and we lost all of the information from that interview. So it was a practice. We get to do it again today.
It was a practice, but I think that what's really great about us getting to talk to Angie is we're both friends with you and have like a personal relationship with you. So I think it's just so exciting to talk to you and get to just find out more about you and share that. And I think also Leslie and I are a little guilty when we do that we forget to, make sure that our audience knows who you are too. So who are you, Angie? Who are you?
First of all, I'm Cassie and Leslie's friends. These two are amazing ladies, and I just love you guys, and I'm so honored to be able to be a guest on your show, and so fun that we get to have this conversation again. I am from Utah. I'm a contractor. I have been in the trades for about 17 years now. My husband and I ran a business, and we loved it, and we were recently acquired, and it has afforded us opportunities to get to do so many other amazing things. My husband is still the general manager of Western Heating and Air and now Plumbing. And I am a full-time industry advisor for Service Titan, which I love. I love working with all of our customers at Service Titan. I love working with the team at Service Titan to build a stronger platform for contractors to help them run their business and have those insights and be profitable and grow their revenue. There are just so many great things we can do there. So I love it.
And then I think she forgot business coaching on the board of Women of HVACR, and then a founding advisor for Women in Pipe and Plumb.
That's right. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun, different seats to fill, which has been so fun. I just rolled off the board of directors for Women in HVACR. I sat on that board for 6 years. So fun to see that organization grow and to see the visibility and that we could bring to women in HVACR, and so excited for women in plumbing and piping. We've had so many women that came to Women in HVACR that only did plumbing, kind of like you, Leslie, and they're like, what about us? I do plumbing, but I want to be involved with these women.
Yeah, that was like when we heard about Women in Pipe and Plumb. I was excited about that because, we started in HVAC. We do plumbing now as well, but we started HVAC. And so Leslie, I was super excited about going to the conference and being a part of Women of HVACR. And then Leslie's like, well, I'm going. And I thought, I hope she felt welcome. And I hope she felt like it was a good choice for her to go, knowing that she was only plumbing. And so then when she called me out of the blue and was like, hey, Women in Pipe and Plumb is coming. It's a real thing. And then what do you think about Power Women of the Trades podcast being a founding sponsor? And that was just a huge moment for us to just put our money where our mouth is and take that leap with you guys. And so we're super excited about that. And can you tell us what is it? What is Women in Pipe and Plumb?
Well, I first of all, thank you for your founding sponsorship and being a partner with us. I think you guys are the perfect partner for us because all of our goals align. In Women in Plumbing and Piping, we are a place where we're trying to empower women in the trades, find a place where they belong. So it's all about inclusion, supporting these women from the field all the way to the boardroom. Whether you're in the business, you're out in the field, we want you to have a place where you belong and where we can empower each other and grow together in specifically plumbing and piping, but across all the trades. So I love that our vision and our values and our mission aligns there. We do have 4 pillars that we really focus on in Women in Plumbing and Piping. The first one is mentorship and inspiration. The second one is networking and connections, just helping people find their people. The third one is recognition and scholarships. And then our fourth one is education for personal development, for empowerment. We want to help educate these women so that they can be empowered to take that next step in their career or whatever lies ahead.
What kind of, okay, so I know WHIP is just getting started, probably getting some kinks worked out. What's on the horizon for the rest of 23? How can people get involved now? Is it strictly virtual? Are there going to be any in-person events? Kind of what's going on the operation side? What are the goals for 23?
Great question. Well, the first thing is we've got a special community just for our members. So think of it as like a Facebook or a social community place just for our members where they can go on, ask questions. And it's kind of a safe environment where you feel vulnerable and safe to ask these types of questions so that you can get honest responses. Like this is an issue I'm seeing in my business right now, something you might not want to put out on social media, or you might not feel safe in other places to do that. So we have this community. It's all virtual. All of our members have access where we can share and grow closer together that way and empower each other. So there's that, which is an amazing platform. We do not have an actual conference scheduled for the year, but we will be at several events, several industry events throughout the year. So we're kind of working through that. We do have some founding advisors. Each of us are going to be at some of those events. So hoping to be a voice there to connect with some of our members. And then every month we have webinars and we have virtual platforms for people to come and join us and educate ourselves to help us get to that next level in our career and just as women who are focused on plumbing and piping. So those are some of the things that we're.
And so tell me, sorry, I interrupted you. What is the website or how does someone get involved? And we'll probably post a link, I'm sure, on this episode too.
Yeah, hopefully you can put the link in. It's womeninplumandpipe.org.
Womeninplumandpipe.org.
That's
Love
a
it.
tongue twister.
It is.
Plum and pipe.
Womeninplumandpipe.org. And Kim Gill, who's our executive director, she has really helped us launch this. She's really helped build a vision for this. The other advisors, we get to meet together monthly and discuss some of the plans. We've only had a few meetings because this is still such a new, fresh group, but I'm already so excited to learn from these amazing women. I told you guys last time we are launching plumbing at my company this year. We've just hired our first plumber. I'm so excited. We've got our plumbing manager. We've got the truck ready to go. It's happening and I can't wait.
That'll be exciting. I can't wait to talk to you in a couple months and then in 6 months when we get to hear about how plumbing is working.
Absolutely. Yes. And I'll probably be calling both of you a lot. Guys, help me with it.
Well, and it's so exciting and it's such a great vertical to add on. And I think we are already plumbing and you are HVAC, I think the hard part is going to be retraining your brain over it being two totally separate, because they get lumped together. And so it's just two totally separate animals that are similar. So that's so exciting. I think you guys are going to love it.
Something I wanted to talk about with you, Angie, I love hearing you talk about this, so I feel like it's something you have to share again. You're busy. We heard that you talk about Women in Plum and Pipe. You just came off the board of Women of HVACR, having a coaching business, working for Service Titan, working for the business that are working for Western, and then having, your daughters. How do you balance it all? What do you do? Because I think for us,
your special acronym,
because I think for us and most women listening, there's a lot of mom guilt and there's a lot of guilt of, should I be doing this right now? Should I not be doing this right now? And so how do you do that?
Thank you for asking. I love that you brought this up. And this is something that I do love to talk about because it's something I struggled with for so many years as a mom of 4 kids and trying to grow my business, trying to be active in my community, trying to be active in the industry, give back and help other people and other companies, and then still find some time for myself, right? Because I'm a person outside of all of those things. I have my own like interests and things and hobbies that I want to do too. And so there's that. I often hear, like, how do you find the balance? And there's no such thing as balance. Balance is a myth. Like, how do you do that? And I seriously went on a personal mission to figure this out. Like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out how to create a balance, because you do hear every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, which is true. You only have 24 hours a day. We all have the same amount of time. So how do we make sure that we are allocating our time in those right places, right? It's something that I love to share with my clients. And I had several clients before I went to Service Titan, where I helped them focus on how to find that balance in their life. And I talked about being very intentional. And there are 10 areas in our lives where we can be very intentional, yet you cannot give 100% of yourself to all 10 areas. Those 10 areas include your health, your home, your relationships, your career, your self-development, your finances, your playtime, your me time. Like, I could give you the whole list, but there are 10 areas that every morning I go through, and it's like, what do I do? Where am I going to focus my time today? And I think about the acronym that I shared with you guys earlier. How am I going to win today? What's important now? For me to be the best that I can be today, where do I need to focus my energy? And I think about like where I need to prioritize my time. And there are some days I will tell you, my priority is not my house. My priority is not doing the laundry. My priority is not doing, I go to bed with dirty dishes some nights. I am just going to tell you that, because I have other things that are more important, whether it's time with my daughter. We're going to go to a play tonight, and I'm leaving the dishes in the sink. She and I, that's our thing. She loves to go watch the theater and the play. So I'll take her and we'll go to a play. Or if my son has, sometimes he just wants to come in and talk to me. And so he'll come sit on my bed and we'll talk for like an hour or two. And that is so important. I want to make sure he has that. The dishes will still be there tomorrow. It's okay, right? But I make sure I know what's important now. I know what my kids need. I know what my husband needs. I know what my business is. I say my Service Time's not my business, but that's my job too. I know what's important at Service Time that I need to accomplish throughout the day. And I prioritize those things in my calendar, and I stick to the calendar. At the end of the day, I really love to reevaluate and say, where did I not choose? Where was my time not well spent today? What did I kind of waste time on? Or what could I do differently tomorrow? And so I really try to reevaluate that at the end of every day. And I learn a lesson. And it's not that I wasted time. It's just that I'm learning a lesson. How can I allocate my time better tomorrow? How can I make better choices tomorrow? And where can I show up tomorrow that I didn't show up today? And every day is a new day and a new beginning. And you kind of prioritize that day by day. I know I've been talking a lot.
No, I think you touched on something I struggle with greatly. And I try to be really self-aware, because we wear so many hats, right? And I know you and I have personally talked, and we're so family oriented, right? I mean, that's just always at the top, no matter what. Like, that's the priority. One thing that I really struggle with just in general is emotional regulation. And what that looks like is, for example, and I'm going to ask you this because you talked about when, and I'll just be really vulnerable to anyone who's listening, is, I've started this practice of getting up early, getting my workout in, my quiet time with the Lord, all of those things, and had a good morning with the girls before they went to the school. Knew we were filming. And then something crazy happened at Champion, and I started we just came off of a great weekend of having a family time out of town, feeling really good. Immediately Monday morning, we found out our best guy just got recruited to a competitor. And that was before, coming on here with Cassie. That's the first time we've done this in studio. And immediately that emotional part of my brain is just front and center. And it's really hard to get out of that when it's reacting. And I know myself well enough to know, okay, you got to get out of this. You have to deal with these other things. So what would your advice, and just what I've told you, so you know very little. How can I win in that moment, right? What could I do? What's a practice that I could do to get my head right?
Because I think, in going off of what she's saying, is because we we spiral quick because the sky is falling right now, because this isn't what was supposed to be happening. We're supposed to be having a great Monday and having everything's great. And our culture has been fantastic, because sometimes we are huge believers in culture, but sometimes
you can do everything right, and
it's not enough. So how do you win? Yeah. How do you keep winning in those moments?
So I think about, I guess you need to ask yourself a couple questions. The first is this going to affect me in the way I play out the rest of my day? Because before you knew about that, you already knew what you needed to do to win today, right? You knew you needed to still be there for your daughters. You knew you were still going to come into the studio and record. You know what needs to be done at Champion. You still know what those things are that you need to win. But with this weird thing happening that's causing this emotional disruption, is that going to stop you from hitting those things, from hitting those points that you need to win? And if it is, you need to deal with it immediately. And there are a lot of ways to deal with it. And I think that is something that each of us need to discover about ourselves, is what's the best way to work through these emotions quickly so we can get on with our day and get on with things. I will tell you, Leslie, when I was first starting in my company, I don't even want to say first starting, but things would happen like that would totally disrupt my world. And I would be like, frozen, I can't take any action. And it would freeze me in my tracks, and it would upset me so much. The more these things happen, the less surprised I am. It's like, okay, that's happened before. I got through it. I'm going to get through this too. You know what I mean? But when these things happen, it kind of stops you in your tracks. And if it stops you to the point where you can't take action on the other things you need to do to win, you need to find a way to release that negative emotion, whether it's journaling about it, whether it's taking some time outside on a walk and just processing, whether it's one tactic that I love to use, and this one works so good for me, I would encourage you to try it, is I finish the conversation. I do this a couple of different ways. Finishing the conversation is a technique where I'll do it like in a car, like I'm driving in my car, I'm all alone, but sometimes to get my emotions out, I have to have a conversation with that person that just really upset me. So thinking about the plumber that just left you, get in this car with me, we're going for a ride, and I'm going to tell you, and you just let it all out, and you let them have it until you have nothing else to say to them. And then you finish the conversation with, I love you and I forgive you and I'm past this now.
That's so good.
And you know what? I don't know how spirits speak to spirits or if that's even a thing, but I tell you, I'm always in such a better place because I've said everything I needed to say without saying it to that person to their face. But I've imagined they're there, I say it to them, and then I get past it and I move through what I need to move through. You have to move through the yuckiness. That's what emotion is. It's energy in motion. And if you get stuck with those emotions, you have to move through those emotions or your energy gets stuck.
That is so profound.
It's so
just like hearing you say that in such a logical way, just hearing it. And even if our head knows it, because like logically our head will know these things, in that moment, you're not thinking with that CEO part of your brain, and you're right. I can feel something happening to my body in those moments. And yeah. I'm more on the other side of it now as I've gotten older than I say when I was younger. I wish I would have known. But you're right. It's working through those emotions so that you can move on. It's not discarding them. It's just like working through them quickly so you don't get stuck there. And to be honest, I get stuck there.
Yeah, and I think,
a lot of times I can get stuck in this stuff because I
think all women get stuck there because we're like, the sky's falling and we have been told we are hot-headed or loose cannons or women who are emotional. We're so emotional, and we are emotional and we do process differently. But I also think sometimes our reactions come from the expectation of our reaction. Like everyone's going to expect me to blow up here or expect me to do this. And I am the world's worst at And I've really been working on this, but so I'm trying to reframe my words and be better at reframing.
Angie talked about, wasn't that part of your speech at Women in HVAC was how we talk to ourselves and saying different.
So now I say I used to be the worst at being a hothead and spiraling out of control. And I still have moments, But I've gotten so much better at just like stepping back or using my network. And I don't want to, Leslie and I are great at talking to each other when we're going through things, but we also recognize we're dumping on each other at some point. And I don't want to mess her day up. And then she doesn't want to mess my day up. And then, I mean, Angie, I've called you and I've talked through you, and I just needed to like get it all out and then be done. And I think you saying, you know, maybe even yelling at that person in the front seat that's not there is, you know, look like the dummy down the highway driving, maybe, I guess. But
just pretend you're on Bluetooth.
Whenever I get it out, sometimes I'm much better and I don't need to talk about it anymore.
Get it out. And whether it's yelling at someone that's not in your car, sometimes like for me, it's exercise. I will go exercise and I will think about it. Sometimes I imagine I'm talking to them on my phone, or I will just, because I had like this horrible experience at like an oil and lube changing place, like to get my oil changed in my car. And I was so mad at them, but I couldn't, like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go back there again. So I made this recording as if I'm leaving them a voicemail about what a horrible, and then I just deleted it when I was done, and it was out and it was gone and I never had to see it again. Some people have to go chuck plates at a wall, like go to your Goodwill and go buy cheap plates. If that's your, whatever you need to do to get that out, you have to get that out. And I appreciate the fact that you realize dumping it on someone else is not a good way to get it out. You're just putting your blah on someone else.
But I mean, that's true. But at the same time, I don't want people to confuse that with you can't, because I know that there's definitely people in your life that are going to help walk you through it. But
it has to be someone that you love and trust and that you know wants the best for you, because I do think when you really love someone, you have to speak truth into their lives. And so there are many times that I've had to go to Cassie and she's like, okay, here's what we know. Here's what our experiences told us when this happens. And it's almost like just having a voice of reason, I guess.
And that's so funny. When I talk to her, she'll be like, well, we'll walk through it. And then she's like, okay. Love you. Bye. And I'm like, did we make it through it? Are we good?
I did.
Yeah, she did. She managed it. She got through. We got through it. But that's so funny.
No, you're right. It does. You do need to have that safe person you can talk to and be like, okay, will you please just listen to me right now? I don't need solutions. I don't need, because for me, that's my husband a lot of times. He's my safe person. I go to him. I'm like, I know I can tell you this without you internalizing it all, which that's the key, is to be able to have someone that is a good sounding board that can help walk you through it. Because when we get in that emotion, we're not thinking right? Like we're thinking in these kind of crazy ways. And so to have someone listen, walk you through that and help you get through that, whether it's a therapist, a close friend, a spouse, a family member, somebody like that can listen, but listen with a shield so they don't internalize it and it can all just seep off.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen those TikToks where it's like, when someone's telling you a story, don't try to tell a story to match their story. And I'm so guilty of that, right? But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to relate to you so you can understand that something that I've had the same experience or I've made it through the same experience. And so I can't always agree with that. Don't share the experience. But because I think that does help. But I think sometimes we do just need to step back and say, they don't care about my story right now. Just listen, because every once in a while I'll catch myself, specifically with Leslie, where I'm just trying to relate to her of like, it's fine, sweetie. We're making it through it. We're fine. Okay. But she doesn't really, are we?
Are we?
Are we fine? But she maybe right now doesn't need to know my story, or maybe she does, because sometimes she's specific. Has this happened?
Well, it's usually in the context of what we're talking about here is work stuff. And I'm like, has this ever happened to you? And what did you do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what am I doing wrong here? Or am I?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know if I am. I need someone to speak truth. But it's funny you're talking about how that person is your husband. And it's making me really appreciate Brent right now, because I am an emotional person, which to me, that isn't an insult. It's a compliment. God gave me emotions and made me in his image.
Absolutely.
But I will tell him something and I will just be all worked up. And he will just be so calm, and he will literally say, oh, well, it'll be fine, and move on in his day. And I'm thinking, why aren't you getting emotional with me? But he's so right, because it's a balance. He balances out. my emotions. I don't give him enough credit.
That
honestly.
is Oscar Pound.
Right.
And I'm just like, no, we're fighting. And he's like, no, it's fine, and he always reminds me, God didn't get us through this far if he's not going to get us through this. And I'm like, why are you being so rational? Just be mad, And
we're being mad right now. Did you not get the memo? We're being mad.
I know, but don't we need that sometimes? It sounds like we all have very similar husbands that can just listen, walk us through it, and just so grateful that we all have that.
So this is a good segue into why husband and wife teams can be so powerful running a business together. I think I'm not ever guilty of this, about talking about how hard it is, but honestly, it's true, right? It can be a perfect balance of two people with opposite strengths and weaknesses being successful running a business together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for us, since we both have our different strengths, and I'm sure it's the same way for both of you, we know what we're stronger at and what they're stronger at. And so like for us, once we were able to determine that and really define our roles in the business, that gave us both the freedom to really excel in our roles in our business, so that we could take our area of expertise and our strengths and what we were doing in the business to that next level, and just let each other go and not be like on each other and nitpicking. And don't you think this, like, that's what's going to slow businesses down. So that was huge for us to realize that.
Okay. I have a question because you brought it up earlier. I don't know how we're doing on time. Are we good on time? Okay. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you guys sold majority share of your business last year. And so what I want to ask you is, how has your life changed since then? Is it positive? Is it negative? Just how are your days? How is your stress level giving up some of that ownership, and your husband too?
Well, it's not an easy decision, right? This is my baby. I've had it. It's like one of my kids. I've had it longer than I've had my youngest daughter. So, and she's 12. So it's been a big part of our life for a very long time. And so when you think about that next step of exiting the business and what that looks like and turning the business over to someone you can trust, for us, it was very much like dating, like finding that perfect match or that perfect somebody to help us align in our business goals and what was important to us with our business. And as it continued to grow, for us, my husband still wanted to be very active in the business. He wasn't ready to leave the business, but the opportunity and the benefits that came to us, not only financially, but from a support perspective. We now have this, joining a larger group, we now have the support of the entire group. We have these alliances of sister companies that are all working together, which has been so cool and something we've never had before. We have buying power. We have, so that we can get the best pricing on our services and products. And we also have just like this, like there's just better benefits for our employees. The overall benefit was huge, to the point where when we started outweighing the pros and cons, it just didn't seem like the right choice not to, if that made sense.
I think, it's been hard because I think people are so worried if they're going to miss out on that opportunity. I know for us right now, we know it's not the right thing for us, but then you have people knocking on your door telling you you're missing this out. And, I can't imagine that. Certainly, still being a part of this group, you're not going to come in and be like, there were hard days or there were not, because you're still with these people. Yeah. But was it an easy transition? Was it a struggle? Have you, because
I think the question for me is, do you feel like your stress level is better, or is it not any different? Or, are you sleeping better? Ultimately, it comes down to, that's how I measure my day, is when we go to sleep at night, how are we feeling,
So yes. So in answer to that, yes. I can't even count how many nights we didn't sleep because of, am I going to make payroll tomorrow? Where are we going to get the jobs? There are so many stressful things when you're an owner of your company, right? Like, it just never ends. And so in that aspect, yes, it's been a lot better. But some of the things that were different in the transition, one, I wanted to make sure my employees were taken care of. So that was a huge, if I can see that by making this move, that's what I wanted to do. And ultimately, that was the decision that helped us do that. and the financial freedom that we have now from making that, selling the business that way. It was such a blessing for us. The second thing, though, some of the things that have been a little trickier with the transition are we have a boss now. For 16 years, I've never had a boss. Now that I'm a service site, I have a boss, but at the group, we have a boss, which you can say that's good or bad. But some of the good things are they're holding us to this high level of accountability that we used to be the only ones that did that. Hey, here's our goals. How are we doing? Are we hitting our goals? And now we have a group that's helping us do that as well. So that's a different thing. So you've got to be ready to have a boss, someone to report to and be accountable to when you get ready to transition the business that way. Also, different things that they want to try is they're trying to align all of the companies in the group. We're going to get everyone doing this the same way, this the same way. So there's been a few operational things that we've had to change that have been a little difficult, nothing we couldn't manage. But as a company grows, it changes. You just have to know that. So that's the goal. We're growing. We're changing a few things. So we've changed a few personnel things. We've changed a few operational things. Overall, everything has been really positive. It's just how's your ability to adjust to some of the changes that are going to be made and need to be made in order for you to continue to be a successful company in this new realm of a group aspect.
I feel like sometimes we get into this. Yeah, there's going to be you're a little bit trading stress, right? Like it's a different stress, maybe not the financial piece, but you're still, you are held accountable to someone. So that's a new stress. And that's a stress that, sometimes I get in my own, like, even with our business coach, which I pay them to tell us. And sometimes I'm like, I'm my own boss, sir, And so I think that that's something that we forget is, the money's one thing, but you're trading one stress for another, and what's that going to look like for you? And so, I think that that's still such a heavy conversation in our space right now.
I like to ask that to anyone I can because it's like a trigger.
It's like a trigger for in one way or the other. Yeah, it's definitely one way or the other. But I think that's, and I have a lot of like walls up around me for it because I just get frustrated when people call my CSRs and talk to them, about things like that. It's just like, so I have walls up about it, and not saying that will never be the choice for quality, but for us right now, I know it's not, but it's, so when we get to talking about it, sometimes I'm just like, no.
I love to hear about it. We were talking about it on the interview before this. I love to hear like the real raw opinion of being on the other side of it, because we have to be really careful over who we're listening to. Like if they're not in the ring with you, you don't need to listen to them, right? If they're not the ones staying up at night worried about payroll or getting leads, if they're not the ones on the legal documents getting sued, sometimes we can listen to people who aren't even in the game. So I love to hear from owners who have lived through it and what their experience is. For me, I just like to get
100%.
I like to get the scoop.
I love that you asked that, because I think everyone's going to have a little bit different experience, and everyone has different goals, and everyone has a different timing, right? Like I look back at our business and we probably could have built it a lot faster, but it goes back to that balance and priorities. My priority was my family. They're only little ones. If I'm spending all my time focusing on building and growing my business right now, I'm missing out on a lot of things with my family. So Ryan and I were very intentional about the pace at which we grew our company, knowing what would be asked of us, because while that was very important for us and a big part of our life, our family came first. And so now that our family's getting older and we have kids moving out, and we have more time to do that and scale. And we also have other passions, coaching, consulting is a big passion of mine, And so I'm ready for something new. It's not as my baby like it was at that time. So I think there's a time and a season for everything.
Time and a season for everything.
Drop your link for your coaching and stuff so people can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. So you can just email me at Angie@westernheatingair.com. You can contact me there. I have snowbusinesscoaching.com as our website. It's not something that I keep active because I'm not actively coaching a lot right now. I'm an industry advisor at Service Titan. And so a lot of my coaching comes directly through Service Titan to Service Titan customers.
And then you're on LinkedIn and
You're active
all the
on
things.
socials, yeah.
Active on social, so come find me on LinkedIn. That's right.
So, Angie, we love you. I always
We
enjoy,
do.
I always leave my conversations with you.
You're like a ray of sunshine.
Yes, for sure.
That's probably the best compliment you could ever give me. And I feel the same way about both of you. So thank you.
Thank you for keeping thank you for keeping me grounded some days. And I just appreciate all that you've shown me and taught me and through the industry, and just being willing to just show me the way, because sometimes you just need someone to set you down, and you've definitely helped me through those. So I guess to wrap us here today, what is next for Angie? Like, what are your goals? What are you doing?
What's your 90-day plan?
My 90-day plan changes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm really focused right now on a lot of my John Maxwell certifications. So I recently have been certified as a speaker. I'm getting my coaching certification next, and also working on a couple of other fun little projects with John Maxwell with that association. And I'm loving it. I'm going to start a mastermind, which is a personal growth mastermind. So it's going to be limited in spots. I want to keep it small and intimate, about 10 to 12 people in the group, where we develop personal growth plans for the individuals in this group. So that's what's next for me. I'm excited about it. And also just on the road with Service Titan, doing our Toolbox Lives in Nashville, and hopefully more to come. But I'm loving being part of the Service Titan team and helping contractors do better in their business by utilizing everything that Service Titan has to offer.
Well, anyone who meets you is blessed. And if you've not ever met Angie, if you see her at an event, she will talk to you. She will stop and make you the most important person in the moment. And I love that. And so thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and re-recording with us. And I think this conversation, the first one was great, and this one was even better. So thank you so much.
Thank you both. Appreciate you guys.
Bye, Angie.
Bye.
See ya.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple, and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.